Good morning, students. Welcome to our GK online class. So in the previous lessons we have learned about plugged in, right? So in this video we are going to learn about in the 20th century. Okay. Now, as you already know that it is 21st century, right? We are living in the 21st century. So here is we will talk about the 20th century. Okay. And if you are having any problem you cannot see, then you can open your textbook while I am explaining you. Okay, see, take up the quiz on the histories of the 20th century. Okay, see the number 1 here written. He was the British Prime Minister during the Second World War. So who was the British Prime Minister during the Second World War? Now, Second World War, what was the year of the Second World War? It is 1939 to 1945. Okay. You already know that it involved the vast majority of the world countries. Which country was involved in the Second World War? There were two opposing countries who were in the Second World War. There were many countries, but it was aligned into two groups, opposing military alliances. That is, one is Allies and another one is the Axis. Okay. In the Second World War, there were two groups, okay, Allies and Axis. And in the Allies group, there were France, Great Britain, US, Soviet Union, and even the China also. And in the Axis group, there were Germany, Italy, and Japan. So these were the two main group of the Second World War, and it happened in 1939 to 1945. So these two groups, at that time when the Second World War was happened, at that time who was the British Prime Minister? It's already answer is given, Winston Churchill. Okay, Winston Churchill is the British Prime Minister when the Second World War was happened. Okay, now next number 2, this former barrier walled off the West Berlin to keep the East German from for escaping to the west. Built in August 1961, it remained a symbol of the Cold War. It was demolished. It was demolished in 1989. Which barrier was this? Now, these West Berlin, they walled off their barriers. जैसे हम borders पे लगाते हैं ना कि ये वाली border के इस पार हमारी है, इंडिया है, और इस पार पाकिस्तान है, so we get the border. So like this former barrier walled off, उन्होंने दीवार लगा दी West Berlin to keep East German from escaping to the west. ईस्ट जर्मन को हटाने के लिए वहाँ पे एक दीवार बना दी कि ताकि वो वेस्ट में न आ सके. ओके. Built in the August 1961, it remained a symbol of the Cold War. Why Cold War? Berlin is divided into East and West. ताकि East के person West में ना आ सके, so that is why they built this wall. And it was demolished in 1989. It was eventually demolished in 1989. And which barrier was there? This barrier का नाम क्या था? Berlin Wall. Okay. Now next, number 3. Number 3 is, in which country? See here, it is written. I think I have to zoom it. Okay. In which country was a civil war fought and the communist government under Chairman Mao came to power? Okay. Now, in the United States from 1861 to 1865, there was a civil war. Okay, civil war is the American war. Okay, and it was fought between from 1861 to 1865 है ना, and it was found between the northern state loyal to the union. Now उसमें क्या था? टू पार्टीशन वेर देयर, नॉर्दर्न एंड द साउदर्न. तो नॉर्दर्न वाले यूनियन के संग थे एंड साउदर्न वाज द स्टेट हु वांट्स द सेक्युलेटेड फ्रॉम द यूनियन. दे डोंट वांट द यूनियन मिनिस्ट्री टू रूल अपॉन देम, सो दे कन्फिडरेटेड दैट they wanted their own confederated states of America. So that is why they have divided into the northern and the southern. So पहले United States was one only, but when this civil war was happened, it was between from 1861 to 1865. Okay. So this civil war was fought, and in this the communist government under Chairman Mao came into power. इन दोनों में लड़ाइयाँ हो रही थी. एंड तीसरा the China came into the power. They ruled. Okay. Now number fourth is Sir. Can you see this? Here it is. You can see. Yes. Sir Alexander Fleming discovery. Now it discovered in the field of medicines that which he called the penicillin became one of the most effective life-saving drugs in the world. What it is a type of. Now Sir Alexander discovered the antibiotics. Okay. Antibiotic name penicillin. So penicillin is basically it is type of antibiotics. Now we know that antibiotic is a medicine that kills germs or infection in our body that caused bacteria. Okay. So our answer will be penicillin is which type of? It is antibiotic. Okay. Now number fifth. Number fifth is in which year? See, can you see this? In which year did the Union adopt the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and introduce voting rights for women into international law? कौन से ईयर में यूएन ने, जैसे हमारे इंडिया में देयर इज अ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन दैट द रूल्स दैट वी फॉलो, डॉक्टर अम्बेडकर made the constitution. So like this UN adopts certain rules and that rule was known as Union Declaration of Human Rights, and it also introduced the voting right for women into international law. Okay, these are the sovereign body. Universal Declaration of Human Right, this is a sovereign body. Okay, ये सारे कंट्रीज यहाँ पे फॉलो करते हैं. ठीक है. सो दे अडॉप्टेड दिस ह्यूमन राइट्स. सो ये कब हुआ था? 1948. ओके. नाउ नेक्स्ट नंबर सिक्स्थ सी. Which country in the Middle East became independent on 14th May 1948? कौन सा कंट्री में जो मिडल ईस्ट में है became independent? Obviously our answer will be Israel. ठीक है. Now next number 7th. Iraq fought a war with its neighbor. One second. Iraq fought a war with its neighbor for 8 long years with no territorial annexations. Which country was this? इराक ने लड़ाई लड़ी थी with its neighbors for long 8 years. Now this is all about the Iran and Iraq war. Okay, it was a war between the armed forces of Iraq and Iran lasting from September 1980 to August 1988. ठीक है. And this war began when Iraq invaded Iran. इराक जब आया ईरान में, इन्वेडेड मीन्स इट एंटर टू अ कंट्री विथ एन अराउंड टू अटैक एंड कंट्रोल ओवर इट. अटैक करती है कंट्री के ऊपर टू कंट्रोल करने के लिए. सो इराक हैज़ इन्वेडेड द ईरान ऑन सितंबर 1980. ओके, ऑन 22 सितंबर आफ्टर अ लॉन्ग हिस्ट्री ऑफ बॉर्डर डिस्प्यूट. बॉर्डर के ऊपर डिस्प्यूट हुआ एंड देयर वाज अ डिमांड ऑफ फॉर ओवरथ्रो ऑफ सद्दाम हुसैन regime at that time. Okay, so these was a war happened. So it automatically my answer will be Iran. Okay, I've already told you that it is a war between the Iraq and Iran. ठीक है. Now next number 8. Name the country which became independent in 1918 after the collapse of Austria-Hungary and remained a geographical and political unit till 1st January 1993, after which it split into 2 new political states, that is Czech Republic and Slovakia. So these both states, get independent in 1980 after the collapse of Austria and Hungary and remain geographical and political unit until एक साथ कब तक रहे? फ्रॉम टिल 1993. और उसके बाद क्या हुआ? ये दोनों कंट्री ने स्प्लिट कर लिया. ओके, सीज रिपब्लिक एंड स्लोवाकिया दे हैव, लेकिन पहले साथ ही में थे, तो दैट इज कॉल्ड सेस्लोवाकिया. ठीक है. नाउ नेक्स्ट नंबर 9th. Number 9th is the United States of America fought a war with the country in Asia which lasted approximately 10 years. Now United States of America fought a war. Okay, they fought a war in Asia which lasted approximately 10 years. The US had to finally admit defeat and withdraw. और UN ने क्या किया? US ने क्या किया? फाइनली एडमिट कर लिया एंड विड्रॉ कर लिया, डिफेक्ट एडमिट कर लिया, हार मान ली. सो दैट इज कॉल्ड वियतनाम. ठीक है. नाउ कैन यू सी दिस? वन सेकेंड. सो किस किस संग यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका ने फाउट किया था 10 लॉन्ग ईयर्स जो एशिया में है, वियतनाम, ओके। एंड फाइनली जब कुछ नहीं हुआ तो ही उसने सरेंडर कर लिया, यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ने, ओके, हार मान ली। फाइन, नाउ नेक्स्ट पेज, रीड द Now, here it is written, read the clue and guess which famous personality of the 20th century we are talking about. ठीक है, there is a clue given and you have to identify that किसके बारे में बोला गया है. Okay, now number 1, among the finest thinker of the 20th century's theory of relatively revolutionized way of thinking about the space, time, energy and gravity. Now we are talking about the famous scientist, that is Albert Einstein, है ना. He got the theory of us about the space, time, energy, matter and gravity. Now next, number 2, he is known as the Great Sol. His idea of winning a battle with non-violence is legendary. Okay. Now next, he led to the end of the British rule in India without striking a single blow. Obviously Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, Mahatma Gandhi. Now next, number 3, he revolutionized the world of the internet and introduced the World Wide Web. किसने इंटरनेट लाया था एंड वर्ल्ड वाइड वेब इंट्रोड्यूस किया था? www. ओके, एंड द मोस्ट सिंगुलर मास मीडियम फॉर द 21st सेंचुरी में सब एक ही एक पोर्टल इज दैट द www. ओके, सो ये किसने इंट्रोड्यूस करवाया था? द नेम इज टिम बर्नर्स-ली. ओके, टिम बर्नर्स-ली. Now next, number 4, he proposed that the universe is expanding. किसने ये थ्योरी रखी थी? that universe is expanding and came with a theory to indicate the age and size of the universe. किसने बताया था कि ब्रह्मांड का एज और साइज कितना है, कितना बड़ा है? He also observed spiral nebulas and showed that they were actually distant galaxy rather than objects in our own galaxy. किसने ये गैलेक्सी की थ्योरी लाई थी? एडविन हबल. We don't have to go into the deep, बस हमें सिर्फ ध्यान रखना है कि it is about the spiral nebulas and the concept of the galaxy. Okay, so who introduced the concept of galaxy? Who told that about the size and age of the universe? So that is Edwin Hubble. Okay, now number 5th, a distinguished economics from India and the winner of the Nobel Prize. He is known for his contribution to welfare economics. Economics means Arthashastra, that is the money. We can say the शॉर्ट टर्म मनी, किसने इंट्रोड्यूस करवाया था इंडिया को इकोनॉमिक्स से? एंड ही ऑल्सो विन द नोबेल प्राइज, दैट इज अमर्त्य सेन. ओके, अमर्त्य सेन. नाउ नेक्स्ट, नंबर 6, दिस फॉर्मर प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ द यूनाइटेड स्टेट लिफ्टेड हिज कंट्री आउट ऑफ द ग्रिप ऑफ अ वर्ल्ड वाइड फाइनेंशियल डिप्रेशन. सो ये पहले के जो प्रेसिडेंट है यूनाइटेड स्टेट के, लिफ्टेड हिज कंट्री आउट ऑफ द ग्रिप वर्ल्ड वाइड फाइनेंशियल डिप्रेशन. एक फाइनेंशियल डिप्रेशन से आया था, सो उसने कौन से प्रेसिडेंट ने, फॉर्मर प्रेसिडेंट ने वहाँ से निकाला. मैनी ऑफ हिज आइडियाज आर स्टिल पार्ट ऑफ द लॉज ऑफ द, उन्होंने ऐसा फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस से निकाला कि it also right now many of the government following the same rules, the same method. Okay, so that is Franklin D. Roosevelt. Okay, Franklin D. Roosevelt. He was the former president of the United States. Okay, now number 7th. Here can you see number 7th? Yes. Okay, born Cassius Clay, he was one of the greatest heavyweight boxing champion. Who was the greatest heavyweight boxing champion and economic figure of the 20th century? None other than Muhammad Ali. Okay, now can you see the pictures here? Name this prominent personality of the 21st century. From the picture you have to name, and here also it is something else written. One of the greatest and the most influential painter of his time. 20th century में सबसे greatest painter कौन था? Pablo Picasso. Okay, now number 2, here see the picture also. He revolutionized the art of animated film, Walt Disney. Okay, then he introduced the classical music of India to Western audiences. Who introduced? Ravi Shankar. Okay, Pandit Ravi Shankar. Then one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century, who was the Stephen Hawking. You just need to learn the names. The king of rock and roll. Who was the king of rock and roll? Elvis Presley. One of the most influential poet of his time, Robert Frost, was the English poet, well-known poet of the 20th century. Here that come the Dr. Ambedkar, the chief architect of the Indian Constitution, who made the Indian Constitution of our India. Okay, and here the first human on space, Yuri Gagarin. So these you need to learn, and even you have to write in your textbook. Okay, so that's all for today.